And another part of this is that I also had this. I can't really tell you why I knew this. It's just that I did. It just made sense to me. It just never occurred to me that trading was anything other than about psychology. I mean, the first trading book I ever bought was actually the very first book on trading. The first book that was devoted specifically to trading psychology, which was Jake Bernstein's Investor's Quotient, that came out in 1980. And there weren't that many trading books even available back then. And that was the first trading book that I didn't buy a book on technical analysis. I bought a book on trading psychology. So I was not only immersed in the concepts of trading psychology virtually right from the very beginning, I was also keeping very extensive journals of my thinking process, what was going on, what I was observing from other brokers in the Merrill Lynch office, as well as what I was observing from interacting with my customers. And I noticed we were all kind of conforming to the same patterns, the same problems. But just say that because I did have this kind of foundation, to understand that it was basically psychological in nature. Because one of the things we're going to talk about, when I get into the skills section of the presentation, is that when you look at trading skills, it's like, well, what kind of skills are we talking about? If we're talking about thinking like a professional, we're implying that the skills are all mental in nature, and they are. Because when you really get right down to it and you really start to think about it, what physical skills are necessary to trade? We're not talking about a golf swing or a tennis racket or any other kind of physical endeavor that we're familiar with. What kind of skills what does it take physically to put on a trade?
A mouse click.
The mouse click, that's it. Your ability to move the mouse and click it on the buy or sell button. It's that simple. And as a result of it being that simple, it's easy to think that, oh my God, trading is so easy. It isn't. As you well probably know, whether you've been at it a long time or even a little bit of time. There are some very sophisticated psychological skills that you have to acquire to get this kind of an equity curve. And virtually all these skills are founded in learning how to trade without fear. That's basically what this whole workshop's about, is learning how to trade without fear. Because that's what's going to screw you up on virtually everything. Everything that you can do wrong as a trader is going to be the result of what you're afraid of. And the effects that fear has on your perception of market information. So with my situation, it's like here I'd given all this up to go to Chicago to learn how to trade, to find out that the only people who really knew how to trade back then were people that I didn't have access to. Meaning there were some big names in the industry who never really took the time or expended the effort to find out exactly what it is that allowed them to create a consistently rousing equity curve. What they would say is, well, yeah, you got to go with the flow. The trend is your friend. Cut your losses, let your profits run. There's all these neat little phrases, but it's like, who in the hell knew what that meant and how to do it? Yeah, it sounds great. Cut your losses, let your profits run. Oh, even cutting your losses can be extremely difficult to learn. Letting your profits run can be 10 times more difficult than learning how to cut your losses. In fact, it's one of the most difficult things to acquire in terms of a skill is learning how to let your profits run.